Katy Perry faked her space trip. More and more evidence and inconsistencies suggest that the entire story of her flight aboard the Blue Origin rocket was a carefully staged illusion rather than a real space mission.
Today we're looking at conspiracies that will make you rethink everything.
Thousands of people believe that there are portals in the Walmart parking lots. They've reported seeing strange creatures and have had unexplainable glitch in the reality types of moments.
Thank you to the channel members for support. If you guys like the video, do what he says or this will happen to you.
It is hard to believe, but Joe Biden is officially back. They really won't let that bro retire. Because for the first time since his presidency, he spoke publicly. And he immediately jumped straight into one of the most heated political fights right now, Social Security. He also still has enough in him to throw out shots at Trump, saying that he's amazed at how much destruction can be caused in such a short period of time. Oh, and after this speech, bro is still not even close to being done. Reports say that he's currently putting his thoughts together for a third book, that he's signed to a talent agency in LA, so there's rumors about a potential involvement in media or entertainment projects, and he's even begun fundraising efforts to build the Joseph E. Biden Library in his home state of Delaware. He even said that he's considering running again in 2028. I'm kidding.
Ever wonder why you never see baby pigeons? What if pigeons aren't real birds at all, but government surveillance drones? Think about it. Pigeons are everywhere in cities, watching from wires, acting weirdly unafraid of humans. And during lockdowns, when people stayed inside, pigeon sightings dropped. Coincidence? Or were they being recharged? What are they really watching? And more importantly, who's controlling them?
This is one of the darkest human experiments in history. It's called the Little Albert experiment, and this baby is Little Albert. And two psychologists literally taught him how to have a phobia of something he didn't have before. And unfortunately, that was just the tip of the iceberg in terms of how unethical this was. So here's the full story. Reminder, I cover a lot of dark stories on this channel. Severe discretion is advised, but follow along if you want to hear more. In 1920, a psychologist named John Watson and his assistant wanted to see if they could create a conditioned fear response in a baby. Bear in mind that in 1920, the science of psychology was still like the Wild West and very much in its infancy. So like ethics and potential negative psychological effects were like never considered. So here's how the experiment worked. They showed little Albert a bunch of animals, like a dog, a monkey, a cat, and a little white rat. And at first, no big deal. He wasn't scared at all. He actually tried to play with them. But then things took a turn. The next time they brought out the animals, they paired it with a terrifying, loud noise over and over again. And the result? After doing this enough times, little Albert just started to freak out at the sight of the animals, but it didn't stop there. His fear started to become generalized. Little Albert became scared of anything fluffy. They made this child afraid of soft things, like stuffed animals, cotton, coats, even the psychologist's beard. And if that's not bad enough, here's the worst part. These psychologists never unconditioned him. He was never untaught the fear. And I'm sure you're asking about his mother. So first off, little Albert's mother was never informed about what the doctors were doing to her child. I'm not even joking. So without this knowledge, she took her child and she moved away. So there was no help, no follow-up. The experiment just ended. And what happened to little Albert remains a mystery. He's basically been reduced to a chapter in a textbook about how we intentionally traumatized a baby in the name of science. Researchers have speculated for decades on his true identity, but the truth is that we'll really never know what became of little Albert. We don't know if he died young or lived a long life with a fear of anything white and fluffy. What we do know is that as a baby, little Albert was subjected to inhumane and unethical treatment. Scientists taught him to associate comfort with terror, and then they abandoned him. And it continues today to be one of those experiments that broadens the space between curiosity and cruelty.
They've been trying to tell you all along, but you never listen. Buzz Aldrin, the famous astronaut who was on the moon, was trying to tell us that the moon landing was fake the whole time. Just watch this video.
What was the scariest moment of the journey?
Scariest? It didn't happen. It could have been scary.
Why has nobody been to the moon in such a long time?
Because we didn't go there, and that's the way it happened.
I remember my parents waking me up, and we went down and we watched you guys land on the moon.
No, you didn't.
What?
You watched animation. So you associated what you saw with...
I have very hazy memory.
Not a bad line. Not a bad line.
There is no such thing as gravitational pull. We lied to you.
Maybe this whole operation was never really about reaching the moon. What if the entire mission was just a carefully planned distraction to keep us from paying attention to what's actually happening here on Earth?
There's no way he actually said all that. That's actually crazy. I wonder if he's being serious, because if he's being serious, I feel like that breaches a lot of contracts.
So if it wasn't crazy enough that these dudes just testified before Congress under oath that there are aliens here, the comments on YouTube are freaking out about her, because Miss Luna here does not play games. So listen to what she asks and then watch this man's answers straight defy physics.
In our previous panel, we had Grush, and he had testified to say that some of these were interdimensional beings. Can you speak on that at all?
The human body can withstand about 9 G-forces for a short period of time before you suffer negative biological consequences, blackouts and ultimately redouts and even death. Comparison, our best technology, the F-16, which is one of this older platform, but one of our most highly maneuverable aircraft, manned aircraft, made by General Dynamics, can perform about 17 or 18 G-forces before you start having structural failure, meaning that the airframe begins to disintegrate while you're flying. The vehicles we're talking about are performing in excess of 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 Gs.
And in the reports, this isn't just in the air, this is underwater too. This brought to mind a supposedly controversial theory behind the seemingly impossible movement of UAPs, if we can in fact call it movement at all. He proposed that the way we were looking at it was limited, and that rather than moving through space as we know it, that instead these vehicles travel by shifting their point of realization in the field, which to any onlookers would certainly simulate movement, but would be more aptly described as a kind of rapid, continuous teleportation of sorts. So despite physically traveling, the object technically would be stationary, which in theory would make maneuvers of this magnitude survivable for organics. Which is why her inference that they might be living craft is an astute observation, because the instantaneous acceleration reported by multiple sources far surpasses the speed at which someone could access a control panel. It doesn't move like good reflexes, it moves more like straight synapse. And the actual scariest part is that despite all this, rent is still due.
Katy Perry faked her space trip. More and more evidence and inconsistencies suggest that the entire story of her flight aboard the Blue Origin rocket was a carefully staged illusion rather than a real space mission. Allegedly, she flew to space along with 5 other women without a single man in the crew, a completely female-only team, which is already unusual. The flight supposedly lasted a total of 11 minutes, including the return to Earth. But what raises the most suspicion is the fact that not a single camera showed the inside of the rocket during the entire flight. In an era when every second of such missions is usually broadcast live from multiple angles, this lack of footage seems more like an attempt to hide something than a technical issue. Upon landing, the capsule hit the ground at around 25 miles per hour. That's quite a hard impact, and yet not a single person was injured, not even scratched. Reportedly, all of them came out smiling and full of enthusiasm, as if they landed on a pillow, not hard ground. Doesn't that sound suspicious? In addition, it took almost 15 minutes before they opened the capsule after landing. If everything went smoothly, why the delay? Where was the medical team, the doctors, the standard procedures for checking vital signs after a space flight?
Thousands of people believe that there are portals in the Walmart parking lots. They've reported seeing strange creatures and have had unexplainable glitch in the reality types of moments. Creator Yaya's World claims to have seen a creepy lady with a smile. She was in the parking lot with her daughter and saw a strange woman whose smile stretched all the way across her face. They both looked at each other, and when they looked back up, the woman was gone. That's when she received almost 5,000 comments full of other stories. People are saying that the energy is dark. Some people in there look soulless if you really pay attention. I feel like no matter what Walmart I go to in any city or state, I promise I see the same people every time. I get extremely tired when I go into Walmart. This person says Walmart has underground tunnels where they are trafficking people, and reminds everybody of the missing children posters in Walmart. Apparently South Park also made an episode about these weird Walmart vibes, and this person has been a spiritualist for 19 years and says that Walmart is full of demons. Walmart is the only place where I feel like I'm being followed, or I keep bumping into the same people, and time is never right. I disassociate so bad in Walmart, everything feels fake, I never know how to explain it. A girl said she saw herself and her kids from 10 years ago in Walmart, and there was a third kid there, but she only had 2 kids, so she believes that it was her son that she miscarried. Many people experience time distortions, like feeling like you're losing track of time or time is moving too fast or slow. They reference people frozen in time or duplicated, like a loop effect. People describe the store's energy as a dungeon-like place, and it's soulless. People are also very suspicious about the layout, like how secluded the children's aisle is. Tati shares a story where she was working the night shift at 3 a.m. The parking lot was completely empty, and then 3 strange women appeared. One mysteriously knew her name even though she wasn't wearing her employee ID, so she immediately tried to hide, but they found her and they started laughing eerily. She felt a very strong sense of danger and fled. And the store had previously been staffed, but now that location is practically empty and can never keep employees. Afterwards, she said she experienced whispers, laughing from the back seat, sleep paralysis, and nightmares for days. Let me know if you think this is just Walmart being Walmart, or if you think it's maybe haunted.
Hey, no more gatekeeping all of the good conspiracy theories that I've come across lately in the past year. I want to tell you guys one that I found on Reddit recently that has a lot of people side-eyeing NASA, and it's called the Devon Island theory. Basically, the theory is that NASA is faking their Mars rover images here. I know a lot of you are also thinking, why would NASA go all the way to the North Pole? It's snowing there. There's no real resources there. I'd also like to mention, no one lives there. It's a complete isolated desert, which is locally nicknamed Mars on Earth. It's the largest uninhabited island on Earth, spanning across 23,000 square miles. Theorists believe that this just makes it the perfect place to film Mars rover footage because it's untouched and the only way you can get there is by plane to the desert. So this is where side-by-sides came into play, and it started to dawn on people that these aren't 2 different places but the same place. Some of these pictures from the rover are just flat out the same picture, just with like a different tint or color on it. So then other people were trying to defend NASA, saying that there's more than 1 rover on Mars. There's, I think, 5 or 6 in total. But then again, that still rings the question, as big as Mars is, why would you just have them all circle around and take the same exact pictures in the same spots? That doesn't add up. So the part that threw everybody over the edge was when NASA confirmed there is a Mars replicated colony on this island. They didn't confirm or deny anything else. Everything else is still allegedly, but they did confirm that there is a Mars replicated colony on that island, and they do specialize in use rovers there. It's called the Flashline Mars Arctic Research Center, and it's heavily funded by NASA. In fact, all of the equipment that they really use, their technology, rovers, robots, everything, is given to them by NASA. So basically, all of the research that they're doing on this island, NASA owns it. Yes, Canada and a couple of countries that are in the Arctic, and I think a few from Europe, also are funding this place, but all of the equipment and technology, yeah, that's being given by NASA. This caused lots of people to start questioning NASA, because after everything with the moon, now coming around and maybe finding out that everything about Mars isn't even true either, it's not really looking good for them. The cherry on top for me is when I was doing the research on this video is that I found out there are actually 89 of these colonies spread out around the world. Spread across the Arctic, Canada, Russia, Northern Europe. There's even one here in Utah down in the States. But it really makes me wonder just how they collage thousands of pictures to create this. What if they're trying to do the same thing on the surface of Mars? I don't know. I wouldn't put it past NASA if they've already done it before, but I want to know what you guys think. I'm pretty indifferent whether it's true or whether it's real. I wouldn't be shocked either way, but what do you guys think?
Do y'all think they're really faking the NASA on Mars things? I feel like they could, but like why? Like why fake that we've been to Mars when we really haven't, you know?
You ever meet someone who's always a bit off? They forget deadlines, ask the same questions twice, seem kind of slow. You laugh it off. You stop seeing them as competition, but then suddenly they're ahead of you. They get the deal, the promotion, the power. This is day 13 of the path to power. It's a classic strategy, controlled weakness. By appearing clumsy, passive, or distracted, you lower the defenses of everyone around you. They relax, they talk too much, they stop watching you. Meanwhile, you're quietly listening, positioning, planning, collecting information, and when the moment's right, you make the move no one saw coming. That's exactly how Talleyrand, the French diplomat, survived revolutions, kings, and emperors. He acted slow, almost lazy. People thought he was irrelevant, but behind the scenes, he was manipulating everyone, signing secret treaties, shifting alliances, even betraying Napoleon at just the right time. By the time they realized what he'd done, it was already too late. He was still standing, and they were gone.
This is not a conspiracy. This is scary. So in 2018, scientists discovered a black hole 16 million light years away. They're watching it literally swallow a star.
And where is it going?
Listen to this. What they thought they knew of black holes Well, they don't know a lot, but it's just like stuff gets sucked into it because it's just this mad force of gravitational pull that just sucks everything in.
Yeah.
This year, it was 3 years after they discovered this. This year, they looked at the same black hole, and it was spitting the star back out. Like, so light and stuff was coming out of this black hole. Just like, so it was like regurgitating this star.
Just
but
recycling it.
Like broken apart, though. So it's like, what's on the other side of that black hole?
It was the star was broken?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought a star was just a ball of gas.
It is.
It chewed him.
But light and stuff was coming out of it. Like, so it was like it sucked the star in with the light, like the fire, all that, whatever a star is, and it was spitting it straight back out.
A lot of people that believe that black holes are actually wormholes that connect to like another part of the universe. So that black hole probably could have sucked up like a sun from another side of the universe and just put it and like kind of teleport it to our side.
Which is the safest place to live in Florida? Most Floridians know that the most dangerous place to live in Florida is Florida City. So which is the safest place to live in Florida? Fifth place, Satellite Beach. Satellite Beach on Florida's Space Coast has low crime, violent acts rare, property crime 76% below state average, offering safe, charming coastal living. Fourth place, Parkland. Parkland in Broward County boasts a crime rate 70% below the national average, offering a peaceful, family-friendly vibe with top schools and parks. Third place, Naples. Naples, a Gulf Coast gem, has a crime rate 45% below the U.S. average, with low violence, ideal for retirees seeking safety and luxury. In the second place, Weston. Weston in Broward County near Miami has crime rates 80% below the national average, offering a secure suburban haven for families and retirees. Before announcing the first place, comment in the section below the place you think that is the safest place to live in Florida. The place ranks first on Florida's Gulf Coast, ranks among the safest with nearly no violent crime, offering a tranquil, secure life for residents. That's Marco Island.
Trump administration wants to start deporting American citizens, and Kilmar Garcia is the test case. I'm going to say it again because this isn't hyperbole. Trump wants the power to deport American citizens, and Kilmar Garcia is the test case. Kilmar Garcia was mistakenly deported to El Salvador's mega prison despite being under legal protection in the U.S. since 2019. A federal judge ordered Trump administration's DHS to bring him back. The Trump administration itself said no. Subsequently, the Supreme Court ruled that the Trump administration has to facilitate Kilmar Garcia's return to the U.S. Now, the Trump administration is dragging its feet, saying they don't take this order from the Supreme Court as an actual requirement. They think they're above the law. They think they can get away with it. And I'll give you 3 things about it. Thing number 1, this is a test case to deport U.S. citizens and anyone Trump doesn't like. This isn't just about undocumented immigrants. The Trump administration is laying the groundwork to strip due process protections from anyone they consider a threat. The government is fighting tooth and nail to fight the return of Kilmar Garcia to the United States, because if they do return him, they have lost the base of their argument. And they are trying to make the argument that they can deport anyone at any time, despite their legal status, just because they consider them a threat. That's the slipperiest of slopes, because once we establish that precedent, what's to stop them from deporting their political rivals or protesters or you? Thing number 2, if they return him, Kilmar Garcia news stories are going to flood the airwaves for months, and that's the last thing the Trump administration wants. Trump doesn't want the visuals of a wrongly deported man being escorted off a plane with shackles and PTSD. That's a political nightmare, and also a story that cuts through the noise. Because yes, it's about immigration, but also about the state kidnapping a man off the streets and wrongfully deporting him to a gang-infested prison. That image is why they're stalling. They can't afford the optics. Thing number 3, this is the constitutional crisis people have been warning you about. The executive branch of the government is openly defying a Supreme Court order. They are arguing that the president can ignore the judiciary when it comes to immigration or foreign affairs. That's the clinical definition of a dictatorship.
How have I not heard of this? In 2022, an artist
put a 410-pound block of gold worth $12 million in the middle of Central Park and left it there unsupervised for a day. How did somebody not steal this bitch? Maybe they had surveillance, maybe, but you get 4 guys, ski mask, you pick that shit. I don't know where you're going to bring it. You could pick it up and move it, though. All the old people in the park. Oh, no. Like, it's not that big of a cube. I know it's dense, okay? Picking this up probably seems easier said than done. But where there's a will, there's a way. $12 million worth of gold just sitting in Central Park. Nobody tried to steal it.
Dude, that is wild. $12 million? I mean, to be fair, that thing definitely is not moving from where it's at. You could tell it's just like, it's dense.
For the first time ever, scientists have captured stunning 4K footage of a live colossal squid, one of nature's most mysterious giants, in its natural deep-sea habitat. Filmed by California's Schmidt Ocean Institute near the South Sandwich Islands, the video shows the creature's transparent body and pink tentacles gliding at 1,968 feet below the surface. Though colossal squid can grow up to 23 feet long, this specimen was just 11 inches, a teenager, according to Expedition Chief Scientist Dr. Michelle Taylor. While adults have only been seen dead, usually in fishing nets or whale stomachs, this rare live glimpse is a milestone in deep-sea exploration. The footage, later confirmed by experts who spotted distinctive arm hooks, offers vital insight into the biology and behavior of the world's largest invertebrate, and reminds us how much of the ocean's magic is still undiscovered.
I also have an end of the world theory.
What happened?
The CNN founder, a long time ago when CNN was in its early stages, he said, I want you to make a tape that we will play when the world is gonna end.
Oh, they have one of those?
Yeah. So it's on YouTube. Everyone can search it up. So
it's already out.
No, like it got leaked.
Oh, yeah. Shit.
So what it is, it's a band playing in front of the White House. It's a Christian hymn.
So the moment the world ends, they're gonna play that shit live stream everywhere.
Yeah. So it's the Christian hymn is called "Nearer My God to Thee," and it's the exact song that was playing when the Titanic was sinking.
Oh, really?
So they got the band, they put it in front of the White House, and they started playing it.
Yeah.
The guy was recording it. Boom, they gave it to the founder. So when the world is supposed to end, CNN is supposed to broadcast it live. Like they're gonna show it on the news. Boom, the headlines go up. But you'll know when it ends because that tape will play the day of, they say.
Oh my God.
And you'll hear that hymn everywhere.
Oh, that's dark.
And then boom, that's
fucking
how you
dark
know.
Though.
Yeah.
That's grim as shit.
Because
it's like you already know the end is coming and you're just setting the tone. You're literally setting the
I invented technology that is going to change the world, and I have a very important update about it. So I recently created technology that makes you dream while you're awake, and that was all I thought it did until I went to a medical conference and I had doctors, I had very high profile people trying it, and they absolutely loved it. That's the good news. Now I have even more good news. A half-deaf individual tried it and he has not needed his hearing aid in 4 days. He also is reporting that his hand tremors are down by 50%. People all across the internet with the medical condition aphantasia are saying Septasync is slowly making it go away. I cannot tell you how many things on Reddit and different forums I have read of people talking about my creation. And to top that off even more, it works on all of the fully deaf individuals we've tested it on. Something that relies on audio processing to change your brainwaves might not rely on audio processing after all. Now, with all of these things happening, I need clinical trials. This could literally change the world and do so much good, but I have to make $3 million to pay scientists. That is how much one round of clinical trials will cost me. Now, I promised you guys I would price this in a way where everyone can afford it, and I think I have come to a very good middle ground. Now, I've made 8 tapes. I am putting 9 more tapes on the website today. 8 of them are the same tapes you've heard, but with a louder voiceover in case you're having hardware issues. The 9th tape is 11 minutes long, and it's called Sleepless Rest. Oh, I lied. There's a 10th tape. It's tape 8, but 2 hours long. Now, there will be more tapes coming from more utilities. As I'm learning more about my invention and how it works, I'm starting to understand where I can apply this. Now, with all of this added value coming in, I have figured out a good price point. It is either going to be $5 a month for everything I've created and everything I will create in the future, or $45 one time. That will get me to the 3 million marker quickly, and I will be able to get clinical testing and figure out how and, more importantly, why Septasync even works. This should not work according to science, but we're like 4,500 people deep, and we haven't gotten a review under 5 stars. It works. So now's your last call. If you want to get Septasync and everything I create in the future for $10, this is your last call. I will make the new pricing live tonight or tomorrow morning when I wake up. I apologize it has come to this, but this could change the world, and this needs to be tested. This could do so much good for humanity in so many different ways. But I love you guys all so much. Thank you for always watching, and enjoy this good review.
Okay, so my experience was quite amazing. It was like I was awake and asleep at the same time. I felt my eyes going into like REM state. My body was super calm, and I just felt like, I don't know, like my system, my neuro system was just calm, and it felt like I was in between stages of like awake and sleep. So, but my brain feels like relaxed, and I feel like I took a 30-minute nap. So, and that was only 10 minutes, I think, right?
Yeah, 11 minutes.
11 minutes. So in 11 minutes, I feel so refreshed, and I feel so much better, and my brain feels clear. So I'm definitely signing up for this.
I'm trying to figure out what universe we're living in, because bro could just give out like dreams. Like, how can you just deal out dreams like that? Like, hey, I mean, if it truly works, that's amazing, but I don't know.
So, did you know China banned time travel?
What do you mean?
Listen.
How is that traveling? No,
exactly.
that's crazy.
Exactly. So listen. So if China, right, banned time travel, made it illegal for time travel, what does that mean?
That shit is true, fam.
That means time travel is possible.
No way.
Now here's my theory.
Yeah.
What if time travel isn't something that you make with a machine, but it's something you access with your spiritual side? That's why everybody can do it, but not everybody can unlock it. Because what if a time travel machine doesn't exist? What if it's onto a different realm that we can understand in a different way?
Okay, it's like, fuck.
Because how would time and space translate to a machine? Feel me?
Yeah.
It wouldn't. But time and space does kind of manifest in yourself. Look, in a sense, when you dream of something that happened in the past, is that not necessarily like time travel?
Not necessarily.
But you still remember things from it. So you kind of put yourself in that time travel position.
Yeah.
But if to live it exactly how it is that time travel.
Oh.
I found something really weird about the 11-minute trip to space that happened today. So if you didn't know, the first all-female crew went to space today for a couple minutes. It included people like Gayle King, Katy Perry, and Lauren Sanchez, the fiance of Jeff Bezos. And watching from the bottom was Oprah Winfrey, Kris Jenner, Khloe Kardashian, a lot of celebrities involved with this. First of all, I want to talk about the outfits and the symbol in particular on the outfits. At first, it looks like just a rocket or a pod, whatever it is. But when you flip it upside down, it looks really interesting, almost like a symbol that we've seen before. And I'm not saying that this is anything demonic or anything like that, but I mean, the similarities, it's hard to ignore. I don't know who created the logo, but the outfits themselves were designed by Lauren Sanchez, and she collabed with the co-founders of Monse, which is a really popular brand. But anyway, here is a map of the flight that they took. It's done by Blue Origin, owned by Jeff Bezos. It's his company. And here are the timestamps. You can see exactly how it went down. It looks like they were in space for about 2 minutes, or the edge of space for about 2 minutes. And when they came out and landed, everyone was super emotional. I mean, Katy Perry coming out and she is kissing the ground, and there was a whole live stream going on when this was happening. You can also take a look here at what she said.
I feel super connected to love. So connected to love. I think this experience has shown me you never know how much love is inside of you, like how much love you have to give and how loved you are until the day you launch.
Okay, massive breaking news. Russell Brand has just been charged with and 2 counts of assault. He's also been charged with 1 count of oral and 1 count of indecent assault. Now, these charges also relate to 4 separate women. Crazy part about this, though, as we all remember, in 2013, Channel 4 and The Times came out with a documentary which reported on 4 women who accused Russell Brand of sexual assault. But from those incidents, he was never actually charged with anything, and they were just accusations, and they allegedly happened between 2006 and 2013. The ones that he is just being charged with allegedly happened from 1999 to 2005, meaning it does not seem that they are the same women, and they are not the same incidents. Russell has previously denied all accusations, and he said that he has never had non-consensual sex with a woman. The court date has been set to the 2nd of May, so As we know more, I'll keep you guys updated.
Here's some of the greatest conspiracy theories of all time. Part 4. The Grinch has a well-known backstory about hating Christmas. However, eventually in the movie, his heart grows 3 sizes and he loves Christmas once again. But this story may continue longer than we think. It is clear that the Grinch isn't exactly right in the head, but during one of the Grinch's wacky stunts, he could have gotten a head injury. This injury would later take a toll on him as he grew old and caused him to lose his memory. After him and his dog died, they were given a new life in a realm called Halloween Town, where they now lived as Jack Skellington and Zero. He later reunites with his love for Christmas, just like he had when he was alive. Both eventually wear a Santa suit, both deliver presents, and both have a doll companion. It may be possible that How the Grinch Stole Christmas and The Nightmare Before Christmas are tied together.
Something most people don't know is you can't just put scuba tanks on and then dive down and come right back up again. The compressed air would be a mixture of oxygen as well as most likely helium and nitrogen. The oxygen would get breathed up, but the other inert gases, the helium and the nitrogen, they would be breathed up and then absorbed into your bloodstream, and they would stay there until you resurface. As you ascend, these inert gases will leave your body on their own, but it's a gradual process. If you rocket to the surface, they'll expand inside of you, and your body will become the equivalent of a shaken up soda can. The term for this condition is decompression sickness, but it's better known as the bends. The way divers protect themselves from getting the bends is on their ascent, they do what's called a decompression stop. Saturation divers, or SAT divers, do construction and demolition at depths of up to 2,000 feet below the surface. After their dives, they're artificially kept at their working depth. The way this works is the SAT diver climbs inside of a pressure chamber on board a ship, and this chamber also doubles as their living quarters. And they pressurize it to match the depth that they're going to be working at. There's another pressure chamber called the dive bell that's connected directly onto the side of the chamber, and that's also pressurized to match the working depth. There is one thing that all SAT divers are afraid of, and that is a lost bell. On August 7th, 1979, Richard Walker was inside of a pressure chamber on board a ship in the North Sea. He was a saturation diver who for the past 10 days had been in saturation. He and his partner, Victor Giel, hopped into the dive bell. And right before they lowered it into the water, somebody noticed the location transponder had become loose, and so the decision was made to just remove it, and then slowly lowered it down to their working depth, which was 485 feet. A few hours later, Richard was the one outside of the dive bell, and he heard something behind him, and he saw the dive bell had slightly tilted on its side. And so Richard went inside the bell, and then he and Victor listened to the radio as they told them that the main cable holding the dive bell had slipped out. There was also another clump of wires and tubes that was called the umbilical that ran all their power and hot water and their comms down to the dive bell. But this umbilical was not meant to be load bearing. The umbilical was holding the dive bell from slipping to the bottom of the ocean. Their only choice was to use the umbilical to reel this dive bell back in, and almost immediately it completely snapped, and the dive bell fell to the bottom of the ocean about 50 feet below. When they hit the ocean floor, that hole they would normally escape from was pressed into the seabed, so they could not get out of their dive bell. They had no radio communication, they had no heat, they had no light, and they had very little remaining oxygen. 6 hours after Richard and Victor had first hit the sea floor, the rescue divers managed to get a new cable through the top of the dive bell, and they saw that Richard and Victor were just sitting there. They were clearly still alive and lucid, and then the ship began pulling up the dive bell, and almost immediately the cable snapped. And over the course of the next several hours, as these rescue divers tried desperately to get a new cable, they kept checking on Richard and Victor, and each time they checked, they would slouch lower and lower in their seats until both of them were laying on their side. And then finally, the rescue divers got a cable through the top, and then the ship was able this time to pull the dive bell up, but when they opened the door, both Richard and Victor had passed away.
What's going to come out of her mouth, but really her heart?
And is that Jeff Bezos out there right by the capsule? Kind of hard to see.
That is correct. That is Jeff Bezos, our founder.
Go see him.
I looked at outside my window, and I turned around and I looked at the other 5 windows, and my brain created a panoramic view, a panoramic photo of it, because so much of the capsule is windows, and it makes for just an incredible experience.
Sarah. Good? Okay, here we go.
Here goes Jeff Bezos to open the hatch.
She didn't really close it again. Come on out, guys.
Jeff Bezos and company staged the opening of the door to the Blue Origin hatch and now has a lot of the conspiracy theorists saying that none of this was real. Here's the video. Look, you can see right here, the door's about to open. You see that crack? And she goes over and she's like, hey, we're not ready yet. Like, close the fucking door. So they close it again. And now here's Bezos.
Good? Okay, here we go.
All right, you ready?
Here goes Jeff
Here we go.
Bezos to open
Now,
the hatch.
watch. This door's just going to fall inward. And then listen to what he says. She didn't really close it again. She didn't really close it again. No, she didn't close it again. Now, I think this means that they just staged the opening. They wanted a big Jeff Bezos moment. He's supposed to crank this thing and open it. Welcome back to Earth. And they unfortunately caught them opening the door themselves on camera. So I think that means that they faked the door opening, not they faked the whole thing. But the problem is when everybody hates this idea and hates the people on board and they're looking for any little thing to tear it apart, you can't stage the door opening and you definitely can't get caught staging the door opening. They just keep making things worse for themselves. Like Gayle King's comments about how people don't like it, it's only making things worse.
I don't like that people are calling it a ride. A ride, you know, you never see a male astronaut who's going up in space and they said, oh, he took a ride.
Bitch, we're calling it a ride because it was 11 minutes long. We're calling it a ride because there are attractions at Disney World that are longer than this.
Two of the astronauts, I still have a hard time calling myself an astronaut, but
You should have a hard time calling yourself an astronaut because you're not an astronaut. I think you're a talk show host. As far as I know, you're just Oprah's girlfriend.
I wish people would do more due diligence. And then my question is, have y'all been to space? Have you been to space? Go to space or go to Blue Origin and see what they do and how they do, and then come back and say, this is a terrible thing.
Now, first of all, let me just say, I kind of respect her looking at the camera and being like, have you been to space? Because that is a valid response. I've been saying that all along. There are people who, like, go to the top of the Empire State Building and they're like, wow, what an amazing journey. So when you get inside a rocket and you get fucking blasted out of the world, there's a little bit of like, hey, if you haven't done it, shut the fuck up. But the problem is when you come back down to Earth and start calling yourself an astronaut. The problem is when you start comparing yourself to Alan Shepard, who was the first motherfucker to go up there in a tin can like 75 years ago. It's just a tad different than, you know, a billionaire's girlfriend and another billionaire's girlfriend and an annoying pop star going on a tourist trip. All they had to do was come back down and say, that was a wild ride. And everyone would have been like, yeah, fuck yeah, that is a wild ride. But when you start saying that you changed history and you're calling yourself an astronaut and you're acting like a feminist icon, and then you tell people, why don't you go to space? It's like, well, we can't go to space. If we all could go to space, and I was a big fat pussy about it, which probably would be the case, and I didn't go, then you could talk shit. But right now, you just got a golden ticket because of who you are. And that's all you had to do was come back down and be like, I'm so blessed, I'm so lucky that I even got selected for this. Thank you, it was really cool, really fun, done. Instead, Gayle King's acting like they should, you know, put her face on the dollar bill and take George Washington off.
Yeah, if I'm being honest, that definitely was more like a ride compared to like them being actual astronauts. I feel like that's hella disrespectful for them to call themselves astronaut, knowing that astronauts have to go through like years of training just to even be able to be in the space station or even go to space. Meanwhile, they just get a free pass because they're rich and no billionaire, so they can go to space for like 5 minutes and then say they're astronauts. Hell no.
Psychopaths cannot be rehabilitated. There is nothing currently that works to treat them or rehabilitate them. Because the thing with psychopaths is that they will mimic back any emotion. They will tell you whatever you want to hear. They will tick those boxes. They're chameleon-esque. So how do you know it's genuine? Too many people just don't understand psychopathy. And the offenders, the psychopaths, can be very charming, very plausible, very manipulative, very coercively controlling. And yet there are parole boards probably happening now deciding to release someone because they've said all the right things, they've ticked all the right boxes. But that still doesn't make them safe because the mind is the problem. So no, they can't be. Currently, present day, they cannot be rehabilitated and they are not safe to be released. Psychologists who work within the settings where there are psychopaths like Levi Belfield, they would argue that we just haven't found what works. So we shouldn't stop trying to find what works. But how do we teach empathy? How do we teach compassion?
In 1954, a strange man arrived at Tokyo Airport. It wasn't the man himself that was out of the ordinary, but rather what he was holding. That's because his passport came from a country that doesn't exist. He claimed to be from Taured, a nation no one had ever heard of. Officials were baffled because his documents looked real, so they put him in a guarded hotel room while they investigated. but by morning, he had vanished without a trace. There were no signs of forced entry or escape, and his belongings remained untouched.
Turn on the dog whistle, UAPs literally come to us day after day. To make sense of our data, we had to define a lexicon and we based it on flight characteristics. We've broken the UAPs down into 9 classes or types. Some of these classes may be the same UAP under different flight configurations, but at this point, given their behavior, we're confident they don't align with conventional or terrestrial explanations. Each UAP class has different characteristics. Some shimmer, some tumble, some spin. Some look like they're alive and they just fly like a living object in the sky. UAPs are extremely hard to image. What is seen with the naked eye is generally not what is seen under camera. The class 1 often spins, tumbles through the sky. Craft looks like a black body. It appears to flash, pulse multiple times per second. There appears to be some kind of cloud or vapor around it. We've seen class 1s in formations up to 22, 23, flying in different flight formations, different flock formations. The class 2 is the classic Tic Tac. We've seen it in groups of 2 to 3, often flying very erratically. We've seen these a couple years in a row, and usually we see them in groups. The class 3, the blob, a pulsing, vibrating cloud. There's something, maybe perhaps a cylinder kind of in the middle that has a different light like a flame, and then it vibrates and pulses as it moves through space. The class 4 is your orb. We've only seen it in infrared. But the class 4 seems to only come during certain activities in conjunction with perhaps the class 1. We don't have enough data yet to confirm. The class 5 we call the manta ray. It seems to tumble and rotate as it moves through the sky. Class 6 is bright star. That one vibrates very, very fast. It literally looks like a crystal in the sky. The class 7 is the jellyfish. It's probably about 2 meters across. The head is purple and black in color, and then it has tentacles. The class 8 we call the hornet. It looks very similar to the class 7, the jellyfish, except for it's bigger, and it's almost like a jellyfish carrying something. And then the class 9 is the egg. The class 9 isn't something we have a lot of data on. It's very limited. We have it as Skywatcher during our California event. It's an emerging class, and we have strong evidence that it probably exists, but we don't have data to concisely describe it.
I feel like we all know this one, but we might not remember the Wii Sports Mandela effect. Now, in Wii Sports, you know how the narrator or the announcer, anytime something happens in the game, especially after you win, he says something at the end. What does he say? Does he say, "You win," or does he say, "Victory"? Which one does he say? You know at the end, the announcer,
I think he says, "You win."
Yeah,
right? It has to be.
That's what I'm saying. So check this out. He doesn't say shit.
Huh? Wait, so it just ends?
It just ends. He didn't say anything.
What?
That's what I'm saying, bro. What the fuck?
Wait, is there audio though? I swear there is.
There's no audio at all. That's
no,
effect.
No. There's a screen that comes up. So there's like a weird animation.
Yeah.
And there's like tiles.
But it doesn't say any, and he doesn't say shit.
What?
Yeah, exactly.
No, it says, fuck, now I'm thinking it says victory, fam.
Yeah, so some people remember it saying, "You win."
Yeah.
Some people remember it saying, "Victory." But altogether, no voice.
What?
No voice, fam.
But does he say something though? He says stuff.
shit in like other games. Yeah, stuff like that. Double.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I remember,
Yeah, but the "you win" does not exist. But I can hear it in my head.
Shortly here, we're waiting to see the drogue parachutes deploy from the crew capsule. Those are like the guide parachutes. There go the drogue parachutes.
Just free falling right there until those drogues came out.
And then next will be the main parachutes that get pulled out.
Hear that screaming inside the capsule?
I mean, can you really blame them? They're literally free falling. That's crazy. Most in like a small ass tin can.
Here's 10 of the rarest human genetics known to mankind. And if you ain't got any of these, you can't call yourself special, unfortunately. Oh yeah, and the last one on the list is definitely gonna shock you. Number 10, being left-handed. 1 in 13 people are left-handed. Put your hand up if you're left-handed. Number 9 on the list, having a butt chin. It's called the cleft chin. Only 1 in 21 people have a butt chin. Number 8, this is nothing to be proud of, but a psychopath. 1 in every 113 people are psychopath. I think that number might be a little higher. Number 7 on the list, having different color eyes. Only 1 out of 2,500 people have a different color of eyes. There's gonna be at least a few people with different color eyes watching this video. Number 6 on the list, 6 fingers. Only 1 out of 13,400 people have 6 fingers. I used to know a guy who had 6 fingers. Number 5 on the list, a back bending knee. Only 1 in 105,000 people have this. Number 4 on the list, can't feel pain. Only 1 in 1 million people have this power. This could really work in your favor, and it could also not work in your favor too. Number 3 on the list, mirror movement. Only 1 in 3 million people have mirror movement. Number 2 on the list, gold blood. Only 1 in 170 million people have this. And number 1 on the list, uncombable hair. 1 out of 900 million people have this. This gotta be cap.
Oh, can someone, please, just one of you, just blink already. The White House has just announced that China will now be facing a 245% tariff as a result of their retaliations against the US. And what are those, you may ask? Well, China's ordered all their airlines to stop future Boeing deliveries and banned the purchase of US aircraft parts, which, keep in mind, is one of America's biggest exports. On top of that, Hong Kong has suspended postal services to the US, meaning they are now refusing to handle any packages coming from or going to the United States. And then, for the biggest blow, China has now paused the exports of 7 critical rare earth minerals. That is significant because these rare earth minerals are essential for making so many things, like smartphones, cars, and even weapons like drones and missiles. And why that's such a big deal is because China holds a near monopoly over the production process of these minerals, a staggering 92% of global output. So you can look at that in 2 ways. One, that's crazy. Why would Trump pick a fight with China when they have that on the US? And 2, the US should not rely that much on another country, especially for something so critical, so it needs to change. Both of those ways of looking at it are simultaneously true. However, that doesn't mean that America doesn't have anything on China. A massive 1/5 of their entire economy is made up of exports, and China has around 20 million workers involved in US-bound exports alone. So if US buyers dry up because of tariffs, the hit to China's economy will be significant. But I mean, at this point, it hardly matters which side suffers more as a result of this trade war, because ultimately, when the rich lose investments, the poor lose their homes. So please.
That's crazy. That's like the video that we looked at the other day when it was talking about how Black Ops 2 predicted this. And that's crazy. Hopefully we don't end up going to war because of these minerals and all these tariffs and trade agreements and things. But we'll see what happens. This is going to be a very interesting year.
Thank you all for watching this here video.